Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Standpoint. Now to Rivers State, where Governor Siminalayi Fubara has signed the 2025 appropriation bill into law. Governor Fubara signed the 1.18 trillion naira appropriation bill at the Government House in Port Harcourt on Thursday. Now, speaking after the signing of the budget, Governor Fubara said his administration is no longer concerned with a division in the Rivers Assembly. On Monday, the governor had presented the budget proposal to a 4-member Rivers State House of Assembly led by Victor Okojumbo. We're joined now by a former commissioner for housing in Rivers State, Gift Wolu. He joins us from Rivers State virtually. We're also expecting Timi Frank, who is a former National Publicity Secretary of the APC, to join the conversation anytime soon. But let's begin with Mr. Wolu. Good to have you join us.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What do you make of this signing of the budget? Before even the signing of the budget, the presentation of the budget to the Okojumbo-led House?
Okay, fine. One of the problems we have in Nigeria is a problem of lack of a culture of responsibility. And it stems from the fact that a lot of our people, including those who are in authority, lack a clear understanding of what it means when we talk about public affairs, governance, government, and all of that, and the significance of that on the lives and livelihoods of people. And it manifests in things like what we're talking about now. A situation where a governor decides against decisions of courts. The appeal court have looked into this matter about who the authentic speaker at the authentic assembly, Rivers State. And a decision was reached by the appeal court to the effect that authentic, legitimate assembly for Rivers State today, the one led by Martins Chika Meki. Unfortunately, because the governor had once told us that the assembly members were his boys, whom he used to pay school fees for their children, and all of that, and that he created them against the Constitution of Nigeria, because what I understand that the assembly members and the assembly is a creation of the Constitution. They contested the election and won, just the way the governor contested and won. But the governor says that it is he who will decide who is assembly and who is not. And so he decides to present the budget to the Okojumbo-led forum, according to the Supreme Court, the appeal court. Appeal court described that assembly led by Okojumbo as a forum of 3 persons, not an assembly. And this is like deja vu, because we have seen this happen before. In 2024, the governor presented the budget to the Okojumbo-led assembly, and the matter went to court. Decisions have been made severally by different courts, telling the governor that the authentic assembly is the one led by Amewule. Please represent the budget. In fact, even the presidential party that sought to bring about an end to the crisis in the Rivers State, which the president himself presided over, one of the resolutions was that the governor should represent that budget, but the governor would not listen to anybody. And so 2024 is come and gone. Now we're in 2025. And what I have seen is just that the governor is playing to the gallery, seeking public approval, rather than being reasonable and being trying to be efficient in the management of the resources of Rivers State and the affairs of Rivers State that is on his shoulders at this time. So what he has
Mr.
done,
Wolu, but you're also aware, just a minute, you're also aware that just recently, the Rivers State High Court also dismissed a suit compelling the governor to represent the 2024 budget to the Amewule-led House?
Yes, all those things are there, but the governor would not listen to anybody. So it's like we are running a different kind of government, a different kind of system, a Rivers State, against what the Constitution.
Mr. Well, I'm not sure you got my question. I was saying that there is the Rivers State High Court dismissed a suit that was trying to compel the governor to represent that budget, and so I'm asking if you are aware of that as well. That judgment.
The High Court cannot be superior to the Court of Appeal. It's a simple logic, you know, and that's why when I talk about responsibility, it also includes the responsibility of the press. Because the press is the fourth estate of the will, and you have a responsibility to ensure that people are made to understand, you know, and get informed about what the position of the law is. If a matter has moved all the way to appeal court, going back to the court of first instance in a state, for me, it's neither here nor there. It's an aberration, if you ask me. The only other court that can entertain that matter is the Supreme Court. And I know that the governor has appealed the matter up to the Supreme Court, which means that he recognizes that there was a judgment that is not in his favor. But the problem is that he doesn't want to govern the state based on the rule of law, because he also sought to get execution, which was not granted. And what that means is that you are bound by law to represent that 2024 budget to the Assembly led by Martin Amewule, and also present the 2025 budget to that same Assembly. But I wouldn't know what his problem is. But like I said, when there is a lack of responsibility, when there's a lack of understanding of how public affairs are supposed to be conducted, then you definitely will have a problem. Because when I talk about how public affairs ought to be conducted, I refer you to the brilliant work done by the German philosopher and thinker Max Weber when he was talking about bureaucracy. One of the things he talked about as the foundation of bureaucracy was rationalization. And he was talking about people being reasonable and objective in the things that they do, rather than pandering to emotions and sentiments. But here we have a system where, because somebody thinks that he doesn't like your face, he will not present a budget to you. But that's not what the law contemplated. The law says whoever has been elected and a group of people have been elected as assembly, you don't have a choice, whether you like their face or not, whether they are your brothers or not, whether they are your friends or not. You have to present the budget to them, because they are the representative of the people. And of course, the legislature, that is an independent arm of government, is the beacon of democracy. So if what we have in Rivers State is a situation where the governor decides which law to obey and which one not to obey, and which assembly to work with and which one not to work with, then it means that we are running any other thing than democracy in Rivers State. And that's most unfortunate.
Which law to obey and which law not to obey? Doesn't that work for all sides? Just a minute, Mr. Walu. Just a minute, Mr. Walu. Let me land my thought, because the Rivers State, in fact, politicians in Rivers State have decided to, cherry pick on what law, or judgment to obey. Find everyone going to different courts to secure different judgments. But the question as to the political or party status of the members of the Amewule-led House of Assembly is still hanging as to what party do they belong to. Are they members of the PDP? Did they defect to the APC? And that has not been resolved.
Let me correct an impression. It is not hanging. The law is clear. A matter goes to court, a decision has been made, a ruling has been made. It was appealed, and then the appeal court has given a judgment again. And if the press is still saying that it is hanging, I would think that it's rather unfortunate, because we need to help our people to be able to cut through the noise. Because what I see is all kinds of Rivers State this, Rivers State that. No. If the matter has gone to court, it doesn't matter how you feel. My sister, is like you going to the hospital to find out if you're sick. And then they tell you that you are sick and you are sick of cancer. It's a very painful thing, but you have to accept the result as presented by the experts. The other thing that you can do is to seek remedy, right? But to say that you are in denial, you don't want to agree because cancer is life-threatening and all of that. That is not how things are done. So you have to accept it and see what you can do about it. Where we are today is that the courts have said repeatedly and very unequivocally that the authentic assembly in Rivers State, you see, tomorrow if there's another judgment saying that they are not, we will encourage you to abide by it. That's the law. But for you to think that after a law, the court has made a decision that you can decide on your own against the law, against the practice, to say, I'm not obeying the decision of court. And then for journalists and other people to be saying that the matter is hanging. How is the matter hanging? A matter that is in court cannot be hanging. And the court has made a decision. Everybody is supposed to abide by that decision. And if that decision was not potent enough, why did the governor appeal it? Why did the governor run to the Supreme Court? He's seeking remedy for something that is denying. So it beats me that people can behave in that manner in 2025. For crying out loud, Nigeria, we should move forward as a country. If we have issues, let's face the issues and see how we can address them. But we cannot be in the air. As we're talking about all these things, the thing that by now we should be talking about how well the budget of 2024 performed in terms of the outcomes, whether it's in education or health or urban development, and then what is the impact on the people of Rivers State moving forward. Here we're still talking about whether budget was properly presented or not. And as far as I'm concerned, it was not properly presented because you cannot present. Is the governor telling us that, okay, let us assume that he has issues tomorrow with Oko Jumbo and Co. He will not go and choose people who were not elected by Rivers State people to become his assembly just so that he can run the government? Is that what he's trying to make us understand? Or he can bring his children and his wife to constitute assembly? For him to present the appropriation and get approval for him to spend our money. Now we're talking about assembly. The Oko Jumbo assembly that he presented the budget, did they ask him questions about what happened to the 2024 budget in terms of performance? And what kind of oversight, happened? And he presented that thing in the morning and by evening, he had approval. And then the next day, he signed it into law. That is not how laws are done. You can see what is happening in the National Assembly. The president presents the budget, the members take the budget home, scrutinize it, come back, ask questions, and make inputs, and then finally you have a document that can represent a plan for how we're going to run the country for 2025. But that's not the case in Rivers State, and it's most unfortunate. And I'm saying that it is because there is a clear lack of knowledge of what is supposed to be done. Due process.
Mr. William, let me bring this, because one of the things that he has said in the case that I mentioned earlier, where I said the Rivers State High Court had given a different judgment, but one of the things that the governor's lawyer had said, which is Lawrence Okojaja, he said that he tendered documents to the court, and I just want to quote it, and he said that he recalled that the Rivers State House of Assembly between 2015 and December 2015 and February 2017 comprised only 6 members. With Adams Dabo Torudima as speaker, which transacted business with the then governor, Nyesom Wike. And they say, look, this is not the first time this is happening in Rivers State, so why is this a big deal? How do you respond to that?
It's a big deal. You see, when people try to justify evil by citing another evil, it always shows that they acknowledge the fact that they are in the wrong. If something has happened, focus on the issue at hand. Look at the merit and demerit of the arguments that people are making. Look at what the law says, and then see how you can chart a way forward that is helpful to everybody. As we speak now, what we have is a situation where the governor has, against the judgment of the appeal court, presented the 2025 budget, the same way he did the 2024 budget, to an illegal forum of 3 persons who he believes will do his bidding at his beck and at his whims and caprice and his beck and call. That's what is happening, and that is not what the law. When the law said that Rivers State should have 23 constituencies, it is so that all the people of Rivers State in the various local government and constituencies will be carried along in the process of governance. Now, the governor decides that only 3 persons. See, in legislation, and when you talk about the duties of the legislature, there is lawmaking, there is representation, and then there is oversight. As I speak with you now, there is no law making going on in Rivers State. There is no representation in Rivers State, and there is no oversight in Rivers State. And what that means is that our government in Rivers State is anything but democratic and anything but constitutional. What we have here, as far as I'm concerned, is difficult to explain, but it's some kind of illegality. Because the governor was duly elected by the people of Rivers State, the same way the assembly members were elected. Now, the issue of whether they defected or not is in court. You are supposed to abide by decisions of court. It's as simple as that. I don't know any other conjecture, trying to whip up sentiment here and there. Tell me what happened in Ghana or Burkina Faso as the basis for why you are doing what you are doing in Rivers State. Is that what our constitution said? That if when a matter arises, you should go and give us examples of things that happened in other places to justify what you have done. That's not it. So I think that the right thing has to be done, and if the right thing is done, that has created recipe for crisis. Because as they say, those who sow wind will reap while wind. I don't know, maybe we'll get to a point where the Supreme Court will tell us who the authentic assembly is. And then when that time comes, what is he going to tell us that happened to the 2024 budget? And to whom now will he present the 2025 budget? And don't forget the fact that
all right, we seem to have lost connection with Mr. Gifolu. Just to confirm whether we still have him. Mr. Gifolu, do we still have you?
Is he going? Now the question is, I'm here.
All right, go ahead.
So on what authority is he spending the money? And on what is he spending the money for who? Because when you talk about representation, the assembly members are supposed to present to the government what the needs and the demands, if you like, of their people are. I am from Obiakpo, for example. And Obiakpo is one of the largest local governments, if not the very largest local government in Rivers State. Now, I don't have a member in that assembly of Okojombo. I don't have. So I'm not represented.
Both houses are sitting. Mr. Walu, both houses are sitting. But we know that the Amewule-led house is also sitting and making laws as well, and which is, for a lot of people, will be quite confusing because which of these laws should be respected. But I also wanted to ask you, to dwell on the last point I made earlier about their defense that this is not the first time this is happening in Rivers State. That if the former governor did run Rivers State with a six-member assembly, why are they raising so much issues around running Rivers State with 3-member assembly?
Listen, if something happens, let me give you a typical example. If, for example, the members of the Rivers State Assembly were traveling and there was an accident and 27 members died, for example, the government will not end. Government will continue to run, maybe with 3 or 4 persons or whoever is remaining. But I now talk about how you can conduct elections to fill the vacant seats. But as we speak, as at today, based on the law, based on the judgment of the appeal court, the House of Assembly that we have, it doesn't matter how anybody thinks about them or about that situation. According, the law says that having looked at all the arguments and looked at all the things that people have canvassed and looked at the law, that these people are the authentic assembly. Now you are challenging that matter in court. There has not been any judgment saying that they are not. So the question is, on the basis of what are you dealing with some other people? And like I said, you don't need to like them. I can tell you for free, the assembly led by Amewule, they have been making laws.
All right. Again, the network, we're having challenges with the network. We do have to leave it there. when we were supposed to have someone who speak on behalf of the governor, represent the governor's the opinion, which is Mr. Timmy Frank, who is former National Publicity Secretary of the APC, but he couldn't join the conversation. But we had former Commissioner for Housing in Rivers State, Gift Wolu. Thank you so much for your time. We lost connection with him, so we'll have to wrap the show. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. That's Standpoint this week. Remember, you can watch a repeat broadcast at 11 p.m. tonight and 5 a.m. on Sunday morning. I am Precious Amayo. Thanks for watching.